Good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's watching this stream. Today pretty unusual. It's for those who doesn't really recognize the voice, it's Jenks here. But don't you worry guys, Ike is going to join us soon. So guys, let me welcome you on race 5 of ISDA GT3 autumn season. Tonight we're about to race on one of the most famous tracks, place in mid-south Germany, in Nurburgring, which is part of the track, the Nordschleife Nurburgring, the GP section of the one of the most famous tracks called Green Hell. So now we have less than 1 minute of free practice. I will leave you with Remco Langendijk on board, and I hope that we're back during the quali session, so you may enjoy the view and the sound from the absolutely fantastic Aston Martin.
And here I was hoping to follow on from your comments saying just because we're on the GP circuit doesn't mean it's any less green hell. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Yankees. Thank you very much for that introduction. Work being work, as it tends to be in these times. I am here. Nobody heard me. Damn it. Oh, good. Oh my goodness. Get yourself piped through just for a second, Yankees. At least like while they're finishing up practice and I'm getting into the server, let's have a listen to the man who's been running the streams for this season, last season. How long have you been running the cameras and taking care of the streams on here? Making my life so much easier.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 seasons, whole 2 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, so this will be your 3rd season in charge of the cameras. And how has that been for you? Do you enjoy being engaged in the streams like this?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I find really interesting and kind of challenging. Firstly, on the very beginning, I was also in charge of being a race director, and frankly, I don't like it. I mean, that's the truth. I just don't like the job. And then we wanted to make those streams look a little bit different, and we know that amount of work that you have to do when you're commentating, it's simply not possible to be able to navigate with all that stuff, to look at the times, to look at the camera angles, so to times and what's happening on the track, along with commentating, especially your commentating, which is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we thought that this might be quite a nice idea. I've always had this thing for camera, for angles, for like looking the action. So yeah, we decided to go for it, and I gotta admit, I absolutely love it. And trust me, the day I will have to resign from that will be a terrible day.
I'm sure. Well, hopefully that day isn't anytime soon, because as you say, it makes my job so much easier, being able to focus on the commentary, and as well being able to have 2 camera angles on the track makes life significantly better for the viewers as well. It means that we can keep coverage of different cars around the track. Speaking of cars around the track, I can see what you're doing as well. Speaking of cars around the track, the qualifying session is a go. It has been a much longer hold than usual for Mattia Mex, one of the faster drivers. Maybe a difficult race for the Mercedes tonight, with the engine so in the front and the gearbox also, if I remember correctly, back just behind the front axle on that Mercedes AMG GT3 car. It can cause for a very lively rear end in the Mercedes, so something that Mattia is going to be holding on to for dear life in that 886 Mercedes. Once again, thank you very much to Yankees for his effort and his work. Once again, good evening everybody, my name is Like Sky. I am in the com box once again, and We are here at the Nurburgring, frankly one of the scariest racetracks in the 21st century, and even this Grand Prix circuit, which is massively sanitized compared to the Green Hell, as Yankos was speaking about earlier. Even this is a significant challenge, especially in these conditions, as the Mercedes gets a beautiful wiggle on, demonstrating my point beautifully through the Schumacher S's up through Michelin now. The Mercedes is looking composed. He's definitely sticking to the correct racing lines, but just not quite as composed as we're used to seeing from that very stable and relatively lazy, as far as the cars are concerned in this sector of racing, lazy handling GT3 car. Other cars to be on the lookout for in these conditions, the 130 of Andrew Brooker, David Dunster, we should be expecting in those Porsches with all of that traction over the rear axle. If they can keep the front end in check, they should be on for some good grid positions here, as the Mercedes comes across the line and goes on to his first qualifying lap time. Big twitch of oversteer from the 886, so a massive amount of oversteer, wasn't able to get it stopped in the end. That will be an invalidated lap time for the Mercedes driver, and so we look further down the grid for some relative lap times. Dunster, the Porsche, is going to be fascinating to watch in these conditions. No Lexus in the grid tonight, so we don't get to have a representation from the Japanese mark. But the NSX, with that mid-rear beautifully proportioned chassis as well, one that we should be looking for to have a bit of pace, obviously in the hands of Zoran Jonjic in the 24. Definitely something to keep an eye on. But the Porsche is going to be very quick tonight. You can see, if we can ask Yankos to just jump on board with the Porsche for just a minute, we'll be able to watch the BMW in front as well. Oh, no, we won't, because there is that much spray. As we get down into the corner, the BMW with the front engine rear gearbox is not quite as well balanced as the Porsche here. Big twitch of oversteer. Meanwhile, the rear engine Porsche just planted. Beautiful scenery around the Ardennes here. I just realised I've forgotten my European forests. I'm pretty sure that it is the Ardennes. I'm now going to double check and make 100% sure. Of course, this weather being absolutely spot on for the Rhineland, the Eifel Mountains. Sorry, the Eifel Forest. I am absolutely awful. Getting my Spa and Nürburgring mixed up. This weather absolutely spot on. We've had many a Formula 1 Grand Prix and many a... as I was saying, is as long as they can keep the front end of the Porsche in check, Dunster not able to get the bite in the front to get the turn in for the NGK chicane, but around the final corner he did keep it all on the track and on the straight and narrow. Let's see what time he gets. So he gets a 2:14.687. Very good lap time for the number 4. As the conditions get better through the session, and as the tyres display some of the water on the racing line, watch for these Porsches to get quicker and quicker until we potentially get to the point of having dry tyres, at which point they might fall off. And I say might with a capital M, because with these cars, you never know. A couple of drivers missing from tonight, and something to be paying attention to. I don't know if Yankos covered it in the time that we were in practice about the penalties. Okay, so penalties incoming for this session. We did have a couple carry over, including a big one which could affect the outcome of the race. Actually, do we have another Zach in the track? We don't. Okay. So there is a penalty for Bella, car 14, that he will receive a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. And the other one is car 96, which will get a 10-second time penalty at the race start. So Matti Miksik and car 14, who is currently sitting in 4th position, this is going to be a key penalty for one of the faster drivers in ISDA. Mercedes looking relatively strong on the straights, but in the corners, as we watch our leader at the moment, only ahead by a couple of tenths of a second. That is a dramatic reduction from what we have seen in the qualifying times through the rest of the season, but it's still 0.2 of a second. Why? And he's going to get a wonderful slide through the Schumacher S's. I've never seen that before, but an incredible save from Mr. Jonic. So with that kind of car control and that kind of confidence to throw the car into the Schumacher S's, I know for a fact I do not have that level of confidence going through the Schumacher S's. It is not a comfortable corner to throw the car sideways into, especially with my old faithful G29 from Logitech. To have a look at the timing screen just for a second, because there are a couple of cars going quicker at the moment. Dunster in the number 4 is going half a second quicker. That would bring him up to the top 8, which is a fantastic showing for the 4 car. I think there's a few other drivers who might be running from further down the grid, having not done the wet running. There was a couple of comments pre-qualifying made about, was that Dunster getting it wrong? Yeah, it was Dunster getting it wrong just through Michelin curve there, I think, through the latter half of the lap. Yes. I thought I recognised that camera angle. For those of you in the chat, please do give a shout out to who you're going to be supporting through the race. A 2-hour session for our drivers this evening, and the way that ACC does weather, we could be looking at a flood, we could be looking at a dry race come the end of this session. Complicated questions for our drivers to make then. Do they bank on the track staying wet, or do they hope that the track is going to dry out and give them a bit more favourable conditions for these predominantly mechanically focused cars? Igor Krisnic versus the BMWs, 1.3 seconds off at the moment, 0.3 up. This could be a deposition of 3rd position and a very confident move to the inside of the 2nd row of the grid for that BMW. With all of that braking performance, you have to wonder if there might be some dives coming from Krisnic tonight. JR in chat, great to see you there. Yeah, shout out to Brooker. He has been in a lot of pain the past few days, having caused himself an injury doing sports. I don't think that is a legitimate excuse. I think that you should do less sports and more sim racing, honestly. So it looks as though we've got a retirement before the race even began. unfortunate for Andrew, but we will miss him this evening. Love that yellow Porsche. And his driving always has been just the absolute pinnacle of the spirit of ISDA. I think it's fair to say carries on driving through all of the trials and tribulations that these get, by far one of the most unlucky drivers, as the number 3 comes to the line, will not improve, and in fact will lose out during the course of doing that, completing that lap, to Mattia Mex in the 886, who is going to leave for one more try at this qualifying session. So with 7.5 minutes to go, Romano Bernic, I said to keep an eye out for the Porsches, now 6/10 to the good of Zoran Jonic in the 24. D'Acusa, the second Honda, second row of the grid, in third. Matti Miksik in the second Porsche for the Pirate Racing team in fourth. Fifth is Mattia Mex, and first of the third row with Krisnic currently sitting in the pits in sixth. There is pace in that BMW if he can wind it all together, and the track is going to be as good as it's going to get in these closing stages of qualifying. Dan Minton just demoted to 8th for the 888 car, as Kevin Stulic, you told me how to pronounce his name last week. Stulic? Oh man, I can't remember now. Stulic. Stulic. I've got to remember from a week ago now. That's awful. Takes second position and closes the gap from the Porsche to the first of the Hondas to a mere 0.598 of a second. Sanel Tadic in the 84 BMW is 9th, and Blecic will round out the top 10 in the number 10 car. Miljevic in the 998 McLaren is going to be having a torrid time in these conditions. That 720S is a weapon, but not for the wet, with 36 of Remco Langendijk behind and alongside, provisionally in 12th. Dennis Bellato in the 14, a lowly 13th for the time being, with Robert Alavi in 14th position for the time being. All of these subject to change in the remaining 5 and a bit minutes. David Dunster been demoted as far as 15th in the number 4 car for the time being, but again, watch for that car to be getting promoted further up if he can wind the lap together. A lot of pace in that Porsche. Marsic is in the 25 in 16th and 17th, and rounding out the grid for this very, very challenging race is Ivo Zoricic at the moment in the 175 Audi. Audi's struggling tonight. A lot of pace to be had in those cars, but apparently not in the wet. What is going on around the rest of the field then as we come down under 5 minutes to go? Stulic is running slow. Matti Miksik in the Porsche makes it 2 Pirate Racing cars, although one is Pirate Racing proper, and the 96 is the Pirate Racing Academy car of Matti Miksik. Second position. This is a big, big position for the 96. Lots of pressure being put on the Pirate Racing Academy driver. Let's hope that he can hold it all together and that he can bring the fight to Romano. Either that, or that he can hold off the cars behind and give Romano a bit of clean air to run some laps, as the 175 is circulating, comes up across the line. He's going faster, but only fast enough to swap places on the grid with Marsic in the 25 Audi. I dare say that is not a symptom of their performance, just the car's not quite having the performance. Zoran Jonic goes across the line and goes to second. It's going to be a big ask to get that 24 NSX to the top of the screens again. But if anyone can do it, Zoran can. Grief, that's a song we need to get him to sing. Brooker has rejoined the qualifying session. Good evening to Mr. Steve Minton. I see you in the chat there. Best of luck to Dan in the Triple Eight car. He's starting 8th at the moment. The Aston Martin with a pretty decent setup could actually be a formidable component of the top 10 come the end of the race. A lot of performance to be had out of that Aston Martin, and a lot of performance in Dan Minton as well. Even in these wet conditions, we should expect to see that Triple Eight car featuring higher up in the top 10 than where it is at the moment. D'Couza puts the 80 car to 4th and goes to the pits. Igor Krisnich puts the number 3 BMW to the second row of the grid. So an interloper in the Porsche and Honda party in the closing minutes of this qualifying session. What can Minton do with the track drying out and hopefully a drier line appearing for these wet tyres to grab the tarmac through the standing water? He is mighty quick coming into the final corner. I said that he would be a feature in the second half of the race. He might be a feature towards the end of the top 10 here. He goes to 3rd. And the track finally giving Minton the grip that he needed to make that lap. Absolutely astonishing pace. So the order for the top 5 becomes Porsche, Honda, Aston Martin, BMW, and then the Honda of D'Couza being the first repeat mark. What a top 5 this is going to be. We know Minton has a lot of racing prowess, both in sim and in real life racing. But what can he do about the two, I dare say, aliens, as a cat decides that she wants to hunt. I think she's hunting a fly. That's what's happening. So I'm very sorry for the disruption in the background. One of the perks and the downsides of working from home. But Zoran Jonic is going faster again. It is quick, but at the moment not enough to close up that gap to Mattia Mex, who has suddenly brought some pace out of that Mercedes, a 10th off the number 8 Porsche. This is going to be a terrifying start to the race if all these drivers are this close in race pace. Jonic pushed all the way down to 4th now. What can he do with the pace of that Honda? Sturlich has cried enough and will go no higher than 3rd, as will Miksic in 8th position in 96 Porsche. Remco Langendijk also crying enough with Blesic and Dunster and Talic absconding. Also Miljevic will start from the back of the field in the 20th position, number 7 car. Minton will go no further. It is down to the 24. What can Jonic do as he comes towards the line? He is fast, and he is fast enough to get within a 10th of a second. 400ths separate the 24 and the 8 as we go into this 2-hour endurance round for the ISDA Autumn GT3 Challenge. Mattia Mex still out on a lap, is not done. If he has anything to say about it, he's coming out of the final chicane, has lost the time, but it's a wet track. He might just be able to get the traction to make the difference. It's less than a 10th of a second to make the difference. He's got a good drive, but is it enough to make it any further? No. He will go no higher, but a tremendous effort from the Mercedes to keep that car in pace. D'Couza's going faster as well by 0.4 of a second behind this BMW of Krisnich. Both cars running 0.3 and 0.6 up respectively. BMW gets it very wrong in the final corner. However, hopefully he's not going to interfere with D'Couza behind. He doesn't. Dakuza's got great drive out of the final corner. This could be a deposition of not only the BMW, but the Aston Martin as well. So Honda comes good in the final moments of qualifying, and it will be 3 Hondas in the top 5, with the rest of the marques having to fight for scraps. Nail-biting end to the qualifying session. Let's go to Andrew Brooker, who will be struggling in these conditions. Hopefully the wet track will give him a bit better chance of getting that Porsche to the end. But JR, if you're in Andrew's chat, please pass on our regards from everyone at ISDA. We know how hard he is working to keep that Porsche on the grid, and we do appreciate it. A rundown then of the starting grid for this endurance round, the second of the endurance rounds for the ISDA Autumn GT3 Challenge for 2022, the last of the GT3 challenges that I think will take place entirely in 2022. It's been a roller coaster of a year, but here we go. Romano Bernic, a man we know very well can hold his own in that Porsche, will lead away the pack for their formation lap. Zoran Jonic in the 24 will start from second position. Mattia Mex in the Mercedes has pulled out a massive job to take third position. Kevin Stulic in the 233 will start from fourth. Dakuza in the number 80 Honda will start from fifth. Dan Minton in that Aston Martin, the 888, will start from sixth position, and by far and away the best number to be choosing if you're into your Aussie V8s. Igor Krisnic in the BMW, the sole BMW in the top 10 tonight, will start from 7th. 8th will be Matti Miksik in the 96 Porsche. Bellato will start from 14th. Remember, penalties to be added to that Mercedes. Alavi will start the 189 Audi from 10th, and that will be the first of the Audis as well. Really off the pace and struggling in these conditions. Remco Langdijk will start the 36 from 11th, with Miljevic alongside in 12th. Sanel Tadic will start the 84 from 13th, with the 10 car of Sanjin Blesic in 14th. Dunster will start number 4 from 16th, with Joricic in 16th. 17th for Marsic in the Audis. Andy Brooker will start from 18th, with Miljevic starting from 19th, obviously discounting the 900 safety car, who will abscond to the pit lane as soon as the session begins. Hopefully we don't see a return of that Audi R8 GT4 car. So, he can't stream. Okay, I understand that he's going to focus on the racing tonight. Just goes to show just how important this is to him. Really, really impressive display, as always, from the Porsche driver. And as the drivers roll off for their formation lap, I don't think we could call it a warm-up lap this morning. You don't want to be using any of the treads on these tyres. As always, thank you very much to SimRacing Pro for sponsoring this season and this series, and we will be right back after this message. We need to get him that cup. Lovely. So the 130 car is a car that we need to keep a keen eye on during the course of this race. He might not make it to the end, but it is already a champion performance from Andrew Brooker just to get to the finish tonight with a 2-hour time ticking down at the top of the screen. It's going to be a massive challenge for Brooker. Up, as you see, the penalties have been added. So at their first pit stops, and of course no mandatory pit stops needed for this 2-hour session, even with the best will in the world. It doesn't matter how good you are on fuel, how much you try to save, these cars do not do 2 hours. What they might be able to do, however, is an hour. But the question I think tonight is going to be, do they take the tyres to that 2 hours, or will they be quicker, taking an earlier stop and having 2 stops and having 2 sets of tyres? It's going to be an interesting race, and we need to see who is going to take which strategies. I dare say that the 96 and the 14 might go for a 2-stop with those penalties, get them out of the way, and the mid-engined Honda and the front-engined Mercedes could possibly benefit from having the cars have the best tyres for them. 2x2 then they will arrange themselves as the field comes towards the start-finish straight. Take a breath. It's going to be the last one you'll be able to take for the next 120 minutes. 2 Hondas on the outside, a Porsche and Mercedes on the inside. Watch for the BMW making an almighty dive in towards turn 1, and the 888 of Dan Minton, always a risk of making massive gains at the start of the race. We will watch from the helicopter and wait for the light segment to go green, and we are away for 2 hours of the Nurburgring, switching places. The Mercedes hasn't quite been able to get the drive off of the start. BMW is being very sensible as cars taking to grass on the inside. There is so much spray from the driver's perspective, but cleanly they come through turn 1. Bit of oversteer, I think, there for number 4 of Dunster. Just not able to get the tyres into their operating pressure. Mercedes defending on the outside against the Aston Martin, the 888 car. 888 of Dan Minton round the outside has got the stability in the car that Mercedes doesn't quite have. Now has the insides, going to try and tuck underneath, but he's still got the overlap. Falls back in line behind. There is plenty of time yet to make that move, but now he goes to the outside. Space left, professional driving. It looks as though someone's left tyre tracks up the inside as well there, but the straight line speed of the Mercedes will get the 886 back in front as they come towards the first sector. That's a look up the inside for the 80 car very briefly, but will fall back into line. Krishnich being super sensible with that BMW. Really good to see some responsible driving from an M4 driver. Not used to that sort of thing from other leagues. Big twitch for the 886, and that puts the 888 car back in position as they come in towards Michelin Curve. He has the inside of Minton up to 4th position. Now the leader of the rest of the pack, but misses the apex. Not so important for the Varsteiner curve, but Mercedes has the straight line speed coming up towards Ad Van Bogen. Minton leaves the space on the inside. I couldn't talk through that twitch. Super difficult to save, and Minton, as always, the consummate professional in these soaking wet conditions as they come through the NJK chicane for the first time under race conditions. It is the top 3 with a significant gap over the rest of the field. I do think that is just the pace of those cars. Romano Pereminic takes fastest lap. He had there we go, that's what I was expecting. He had the worst advantage, but the first car to defeat that fastest opening lap of Romano Pereminic is the 10th place Mercedes. When it comes down, I might be able to explain to you why that's so significant. But, my goodness, that's just the pace that the Porsche has under these race conditions. I was expecting the Porsche to be fast. I wasn't expecting it to be that fast. And Mixic in the 96 is also putting on a fantastic show. Has already got a couple of seconds out of, and many positions. I think that's three positions out at the start. So fantastic start for the 96 car. Circulating just outside of the top 5 and potentially putting pressure in these race conditions. That's the 4 and the 130. Remember, Dunster riding with a significant penalty to his own physicality, but is able at the moment to fight at the back of the Fantastic from the 130 car. The ISDA team have been talking. That man, he is absolutely prolific with his driving, and once again showing just how much this means to him. Dunster having to give way to the man driving with a significant injury to his back and his leg today. My goodness, that he's even on the track at all is just astonishing. Blesic then. Blesic? I have no idea. Hunting down the number 7 McLaren, who is going to be having a torrid time in these wet conditions. The 720S is Blesic. There we go. I thought I was making it more complicated than it needed to be. Blesic in the number 10, hunting down the number 7. Southern goes defensive ever so slightly in these early stages of the race. BMW getting a look up the inside. That is not a look for a position. Oh, and there's a crash at turn 1, blind entry. So what's happened there? But the 998 of Miljevic has tried to get off the track. I think that's a spin on his own. Unless I'm very wrong, the Mercedes is trying to get a look up the inside. McLaren missed, gets tapped by the McLaren, and that is that the 84 of Tadic that's involved as well. Oh, that's going to be an interesting incident. I dare say, I obviously take no claim to be anywhere near race direction. I think that's going to be a penalty for the 14. If that was a look, that was a half-hearted look at best, and it has pushed Miljevic to the back of the field. And now Blesic on the tail of the McLaren. McLaren still has the straight line advantage. McLaren still has the advantage over the BMW, so through the S's just extends ever so slightly, but on the brakes the BMW can close right up, looks towards the apex and can't make it happen yet, but as they come down towards Varstein, the McLaren gets it wrong. Scared off the track. My goodness, I know that feeling when you've got a BMW M4 behind you. Miljevic now. Wait, we have 2 Miljevic's. We do have 2 Miljevic's. So Evo is the one that was tapped by the 14. It's the 7 of Marco fighting over 12th at the moment, with Zoricic behind in the 175. Audi's coming good a bit with the mistakes being made further up the grid. However, Minton, do you know what? Minton has kept that time stable. Minton has kept that time stable in the fight for the top 3, for getting a beautiful pirouette on for Dunster there. And that is live as well. Great spectating by Mr. Yankees tonight. It's Yankees, isn't it? I know it's got an awful English spin on it, but the J is a Y. Yes, because Yes, Yankees. Yes, that's precisely why I was checking. Because I hate that. That is such an awful pronunciation of your name. Oh man, even I was like Jankies at first. I know that much about pronunciations, but Brooker on the defensive as they come down towards Dunlop hairpin. Audi tried to go around the outside, but that's going to open up the apex for the BMW to look up the inside. Just Brooker up to 15th already, with Tadic looking side by side. They go 3 wide into the Schumacher S's. Big old switch for the BMW. The Audi has an opportunity to look inside and then gets a bit of instability as well. Audi, meanwhile, as they go up into Michelin, looking to make a pass on the number 7, and will get that made, but there is contact as well. It's all going on in the lower parts of the grid here. If there is a incident reported there for the... Yeah, this is excellent. Would be really interesting to see as the McLaren gets very close under braking. I think there is an incident report coming soon. I see the race director in the race control chat, and now he visits us.
This is the race control investigating incident between cars 7 and 10, lap 2, turn 3.
Interesting. Lap 2, turn 3, that's... So, lap 2, turn 3 is an incident I don't think we even saw. Which is a different one. So, lap turn... So, off camera, we saw a dive up the inside from the 175 where he side-by-sided the number 7 car. It could be that this fight has been going on longer than we have seen, and absolutely something to watch. And all the while these two are knocking 5 bells out of each other. Andy Brooker, the man from the south in that 130 Porsche, quietly doing his work and making up positions. Absolutely fantastic driving from him. As we jump on board with, I can hear the Porsche gearbox whine, the number 4 car tucked up behind the 998 of Miljevic here. There is pace in both of these cars, just struggling to get the best out of them in these very difficult to driving conditions. And Brooker now is starting to fall back. I think that may be a squishy limitation as opposed to a hardware limitation, both in the car and the PC. Meanwhile, Dunster hunting the cars ahead. The Audi is the one that leads this trio of cars. Marsic doing a brilliant job to position the car defensively, and of course every time they get up to any kind of speed, the spray is stopping the McLaren from seeing what's going on. You want to be up in the slipstream of the car in front, but you don't want to have that visibility robbed from you. Coming down in towards turn 1 is a mighty dive from the McLaren. It wasn't on purpose, and I think this could be a position gain for the number 4 car. Yes, not enough traction out there off the racing line for the McLaren to get back cleanly, and that is a position made for a Porsche again. Meanwhile, the number 3 car trying to hunt down the 96 car. This is going to be a race, not necessarily for position, come the end of this first hour, as there is that 10-second penalty for Miksic to serve. But the more he can hold up this BMW, the better he can be in a position to fight later on.
This is the race control. 10 seconds time penalty for car number 7 for causing a collision. Now investigating incident between cars 998 and 14, lap 3, turn 1.
That's going to be an interesting decision. As Miljevic hunts down the 175. This is going to be a grudge match, I think, that is going to last the course of the race, and it is thrown into disarray once again by penalties, the 14. And the 7 here. Oh, as McLaren gets it wrong again. That is time made up. Is that... Oh, it's all getting very messy on the exit of the chicane. I don't even know how to call that one. The McLaren outbraked himself and went across the gravel on the inside. Got back to the racetrack and the racing line, but while that was going on, the Audi got very, very loose on the exit and kind of went into the path of the McLaren. I don't know what to say. All I can say is that is a position made for plenty of cars, including the Bellato 14 car, who does have that 5-second penalty hanging over his head. The 130 car now up to 13th through the mistakes of others. I can see now why Brooker was so keen to be on the racetrack tonight, even foregoing his stream, to be able to make it happen. Beautiful replay of the BMW making that pass look easy on the exit of Coca-Cola Curve. Oh, speaking of, that would go down really nicely in this session. I might actually have to AFK it and go and get a drink at some point in this race. Big braking for the Porsche. Goes right out wide. That is a fantastic line to use in these wet conditions for Brooker, even if it was by accident. Brilliant driving as always from the Porsche. Perhaps the tread blocks not quite gripping as they were before, however, and through the S's, the Mercedes can just use its clear air to make the gap extend ever so slightly. But again, the Porsche has the performance, it has the opportunity, it has the grip and the traction to make speed out of these slower corners. I just hope that Brooker is coping all right. He makes it into the chicane, but gets it wrong through just a little bit of instability, knocking his confidence. Sticks around the outside. He can absolutely make this work. Tadic has to leave him room. But as they come down the start-finish straight, the BMW has the straight line speed to be able to make it happen. And under brakes, it's going to be very difficult. The switchback going on. Porsche has a look up the inside on the brakes. He can't quite make it work, but straight lines that braking zone beautifully into turn 1 to stay on the back of the 84 car. Meanwhile, Miljevic behind in the number 7 McLaren, 10-second penalty, but he's going to be trying to make as much time as he possibly can to negate that penalty. We'll see these two sorting themselves out quite sensibly and quickly, and kicking himself that he wasn't closer to be able to capitalise on their fight. Meanwhile, Stulic, further up the field, is hunting down his teammate in Zoran Jonjic, the two NSX drivers. These are both Pirate Racing, aren't they? Pirate Racing Dalmatia. Absolutely. So they come down the back straight through Advan up towards the NGK chicane. Oh, as Kevin gets it very wrong. Tucked up behind Jonjic, not very much visibility at all, and suddenly the 888 car comes into visibility. Is that Ivan Miljevic? That looks like he made a mistake. It's coming down towards the Dunlop hairpin. He's just going to have a look to the outside, gets his braking point all very wrong, and can't even make his way back to the track in a safe manner. because there was an Audi right in the way. I dare say that was a bit miscalculated from the McLaren. Again, really difficult driving conditions here, and suddenly Minton has a target very much in his sights. I wonder what that NSX looks like from the Aston Martin's perspective. It's there. The spray is starting to go down as a dry line is beginning to form here. Oh, it's getting exciting as the front engine cars do have the straight line speed advantage. The mid-rear cars have a bit of a stability advantage, but not in these wet conditions. The front end having a lot of bite for the Aston Martin, which the mid-rear cars just can't do, and a big slide for Stulic, and a trip to the gravel on the outside. Meanwhile, calm and collected for the Aston Martin. I wish I could show you my perspective, because that car is on the ragged edge for the 233, and I dare say there's another 20 minutes before it's even remotely possible before that NSX can make a legitimate pit stop to make it to the end of the race. Minton smells blood in the water. I dare. In 30 minutes, the rain is becoming what can only be described as torrential. So, for the Porsche, it is getting better. For the NSX, it's getting worse. And what can Dan Minton do in the 888 car against the might of Pirate Racing? At the moment, he is holding them accountable in these wet conditions. At the moment, he is fighting for that third position. Harry's in chat. Let's go, Jonic. He's currently in second position, running with his teammates, but I have a feeling that Stulic is going to have to start thinking about the Aston Martin behind, and with the weather getting worse, that Aston Martin and the Porsche is just going to get stronger compared to the NSX. It's all bubbling up very nicely at the moment. Comment from our race director in chat. Is Dan stronger on wet or dry tracks? I think that Dan is strong when he has the feel for the car. I think that these wet conditions in ACC, very specifically, probably give him a much better feel for the car. Yes, good evening, Aries. How are you doing? How is the odds on another song from Zoran? Yeah, I can't do it. I will stick to Zoran, very specifically because at least then I am pronouncing the R, as opposed to massacring it, because I do feel a little bit bad for that. The Aston Martin looks so good in these conditions. Can we have a lap on board with the Aston Martin where we can see Dan's hands? Yeah, that's what we want to see. Pay keen attention to the magic hands of Dan Minton in these wet conditions. I'm going to mute my microphone and let you all enjoy not only the sound of this beautiful Aston Martin V8, but also the pure poetry of the Brit in the 888 car.
control. Drive-through penalty for car number 14 for causing a collision. Now investigating incident between cars 175 and 7, lap 6, turn 14.
Well, I said that I would mute my microphone and give you all a lap on board the Aston Martin. Incredible control from the... Oh, okay. Just caught the end of that penalty. The 14 car then, Dennis Bellato, currently in a little bit of no man's land, is going to be even more in no man's land, as he has been given a drive-through penalty for that altercation on lap 2. Ah, hey there, Marlo. I take it that you are from Yonich's chat. The direct penalty should not be in SEK. Oh, seconds. You should go driver's school. Understood. Unfortunately, there's only one kind of school or driving school that we at ISDA believe in, and that is the school of experience. Thankfully, we are here to provide that experience in spades, regardless of what you enjoy doing. These conditions are about as educational as you're going to be able to find them. Oh, of course. Yes, the 7 car has been very interesting to watch. Bellato as well has been fascinating to watch. There's been a lot, yes, there has been a significant amount of incidents tonight, but as Mario absolutely is correct in saying, it is very difficult to drive in these conditions. As Sturlich now climbs to the back of his teammate, looks as though he has got whatever performance that was slowing him down before off his back, and is now challenging Zoran for that second position. I know we have a few guys in chat from Zoran's chat. Is this a team orders play? Are they just running around playing rear gunner, or is Stulich open to attack if he decides that he wants to? Oh my goodness, the BMW is still tucked up behind the 96 car. I wasn't expecting that. Absolutely, Mario. The drivers from behind hardly see anything. And the other thing as well, that's why we've seen so many drivers ducking out when they seemingly have no opportunity to make the pass. It has nothing to do with actually making the pass, putting the drivers off, anything like that. It's because they're trying to see something. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I don't think the GT3 cars have monsoon tyres, but if they did, they're going to need them. Actually, half an hour, where's half an hour? Oh, this is going to be right at the pit stop times as well. Oh my goodness. As if we needed any more complexity to this race. It looks as though the track is going to become even more difficult to drive on just as they come to their pit stops, and a lot of drivers are going to be wanting to give Baronich a drive through just to make the race interesting. No, what we should do is give all of Pirate Racing a drive through. That'll make it more interesting. I think that's fair. Especially that Dalmatia team. Those guys need some kind of balance of performance for sure. Meanwhile, we look at Blesic. Drive through for Blatter. There we go. So, how much of a penalty is this going to end up being for the 14? Not the longest pit lane, but that is the 175 already gone past.
This is the race control. Stop and go 10 seconds penalty for car number 7 for causing collision. Now investigating incident between cars 25 and 4, lap 7, turn 3.
Yeah, I pretty much. Number 7 being given a stop-go penalty then. Drive through Miljevic too for his driving. Bellato, the first of the drivers to serve their drive-through. And Miljevic comes through as well. Ivo Miljevic comes through as well. Stop plus 10 for the number 7 car. Grief, the BMW is as close as he's ever been. Coming up towards the chicane now. If he can get a good exit off the Coca-Cola curve, this could be the opportunity that he's been waiting for. Down into turn 1, it's a very big braking zone, and the M4 has some very big brakes as well. Porsche has a think about defending, but doesn't feel the need to yet. These cars are so equal on performance now. Rain, the great equaliser, as the Porsche it is that gets a kick of oversteer this time. Once again, Mikzik not actually in this fight at the moment, and he's only going to lose as far as 8th position when he takes that 10-second penalty, assuming that things stay as they are. But it's raining. Anything could happen in the next hour and a half. Anything could happen in the next 10 minutes. As the rain is looking to get heavier as we come up towards the pit window for these cars. No, but the operative pit window, when they can get to the end on it. It's okay. It's a much bigger pit window, and it's an impromptu pit window as opposed to a regulated one. Mind you, after 45 minutes on these wet tyres, I've got to be honest, I would want to be taking them off and putting another set on. I dare say as well, it looks... Now, I don't think I've seen torrential rain in ACC yet. Oh, as the 3 car gets it very wrong. But maintains the speed. That is a McLaren off on the inside as well. Unseen. Was that the 998? So Miljevic. So I think both of them. Yeah, both of them are in the pits. So for Marco, it was a big spin, and that looks like a technical issue to me. As they're coming down towards Valvoline and Ford, that's where that happened. That looks like an issue that would also make sense as to why they've both quit out. If there has been some technical issue for one of them, it would make sense for them to need to get that looked into. Wish them all the best in their evening. I hope that everything's all right for them. Meanwhile, D'Couza now being brought up into the fight over 6th position. Of course, this fight is being led by Matti Miksik in the 96 car, who is going to fall behind both of these cars when he comes to make his at least one pit stop. I wonder if a 2-stop, pitting now and then pitting with about 35 minutes to go, is a strategy that anyone will pick. It would give you some significantly fresh tyres. As Stulic now falls away, it seems as though just running up behind his teammate, he's not able to push the advantage as much as he would like. But that's pushing him back into the clutches of the 888 car once again. Minton's able to get to that second barrier. He's able to get to within a second on quite a few occasions. Just not able to capitalize on the NSX at the moment. 10 minutes. The rain is just going to be getting heavier and heavier as we go into the race here, as I think that is a step up in intensity. Minton pulling up to Stulic. He was only 4/10 off on the previous lap, but Minton is lapping at the pace of Jonic here. That's all I can say is Jonic is quick, and Dan is matching him, and is in fact was 2,000th faster than him on the previous time around. Just in case you wanted to know how close the competition was at the top of this grid. As I think we're going to have an incoming race decision.
This is the race control. 5-second time penalty for car number 4 for causing a collision.
That makes absolute sense. So a 5-second penalty for Dunster then is going to put pay to any hopes of a good outcome for the Pirate Racing car. Meanwhile, Minton once again closing. How fast was it this time? 2:09.1 for Stulic and a 2:08.8 for Minton. He's closing him down 10th by 10th. I dare say that Aston is looking very, very healthy in these conditions, and by the looks of it, it's just going to get better as the rain comes down. So that's what I was going to do, was I was going to have a look very quickly and give myself a little fact check on the Aston Martin versus the AMG. Because if I remember correctly, the GT3 car has front engine and front gearbox, which puts its weight quite far forward in the car, giving a lot of front turning and makes for a very safe handling car. The Aston Martin, meanwhile, uses a front engine and rear gearbox setup, which means that what would normally be called a drive shaft in the Aston Martin is actually called a prop shaft, because the prop shaft is connected directly to the clutch and flywheel assembly, Actually, I think in the case of the Aston Martin, it's connected directly to the output from the engine, and it's the clutch and flywheel is actually in the back with the gearbox, if I am remembering everything correctly. So, yeah, another one for you. That's the SLS. Just making 100% sure that I've got my facts right. Where is the GT3 Evo? There we go. There we go. So technically speaking, the two blocks are the same. So the Mercedes engine and the Aston Martin engine both technically the same, as Stulic now draws back up to his teammate. But most critically, Minton is being dragged with him as Stulic gets it very wrong. Stulic gets it very wrong as they come into Valvoline, and now Minton is in the hunt for sure. Okay, he can't get the traction off of Ford there. But as they come down towards the Dunlop hairpin, you must think that Stulic is starting to feel the pressure. Minton takes a beautiful wide line using the banking on that Dunlop hairpin to maintain a bit more apex speed. Oh, as the tyres have gone for the NSX, the Aston Martin goes around the outside. That is third position in the wet, and achievement get. It's a podium for Dan Minton in the rain out here in Germany. So the pressure's off for the 233 car. What can he do now that the shoe is on the other foot? He's not out of the woods yet. A couple of seconds back further up the road, Matthew Mex is looking for a position gain in that Mercedes. Big twitch of oversteer. Well held by Kevin through the NGK chicane. And as they come out onto the start-finish straight for the 18th time, under race conditions anyway, the podium positions have changed, and the Pirate Racing stranglehold has been broken. The NSX is looking like it has enough front-end grip. It's the rears that don't seem to be playing ball. I wonder if Kevin is struggling to keep pressure in those tyres. Just looking a bit more untidy than we've seen from him through the rest of the race. Massive kick of oversteer again. That NSX is, as Minton gets it wrong. The first mistake we've seen from Minton this year, I think. Or at least this season, and it's a costly one. The weather then, the weather has gotten heavier, and Minton's got another big kick of oversteer as well, trying to get those tyres back in optimum working temperature, which will allow Stulic just a moment to breathe and revel in that third position once again. Both of these drivers making mistakes is dragging the 886 Mercedes back up towards them. An incredible slide there for the 233. I've never seen a kick of oversteer like that before. And Minton's got it sideways in the... Minton's got it sideways behind as well. Takes a wide line in towards Coca-Cola. My goodness. It is getting more and more difficult for these guys. The countdown to the torrential rain hitting 10 minutes. Will we get to the point where we have to send the safety car out for the weather being too heavy? Aston Martin still looking slightly more planted than the NSX here. Crucially, the AMG behind looking as though this could be a three-way fight for third position soon. And with the straight line speed that the Mercedes has, who would be willing to bet against it, taking both of these drivers if the opportunity was presented for Mattia? I'm not surprised that it is going to be incredibly difficult in these conditions. I wonder if we were to jump on board with a 233, what the hands of Kevin Stulic would look like. I dare say there's going to be a significant amount of opposite lock.
This is the race control. Incident between cars 25 and 998, lap 8, turn 7, will be investigated after the race.
That's fair enough, as I think both cars are no longer taking part. Really unfortunate. Look at how Stulic is having to wrestle the car, wrestle the wheel at every traction zone, every braking point, because every time the wheels aren't rotating at the same speed as the car's going, it's basically trying to kill him. Just astonishingly good car control from Stulic here, and that any of these drivers are holding it on the track is just a massive achievement and tells to the talent of this entire field. I think I could go with that. Carlo is fighting to survive. Carlo, yes. Oh, big twitch by Stulic, not able to get the car stopped at turn 1, and Minton 2 goes very wide, is a lot closer than he was, but now the AMG has an opportunity to the outside. Scratch that lap with the leader. Apparently, we aren't allowed a minute to stop as the Aston brakes to the inside, trying to extend the braking zone in towards turn 3 at the Mercedes arena. And now out onto the exit, the tread blocks really are starting to wear down on these tyres. The AMG, meanwhile, has looked after theirs, tries to have a look in towards Valvoline, but won't go for it on this occasion. Both of them getting it wrong at turn 1 has now brought the Mercedes into the fight for this third position. And Miksic, even though he's got that 10-second penalty for the time being, he is looking at the back of a Mercedes with an opportunity to pass. Getting the car set up for Schumacher S is a big forward slide on the entrance for the Aston Martin. Not a lot of grip out there on the circuit at the moment. If it does get much worse, I wonder if we will see a safety car thrown out for safety purposes. It's been a mighty fight so far, but with the rain threatening to flood the track, we might get to the point where this is no longer possible to race. Oh, as Minton gets it wrong again. The Mercedes gets it wrong as well in the background. I think the Porsche got it quite correct. And now is looking ever closer at the back. He's under a second. Is Matti Miksic in the 96 car. I said the Porsche would be strong. Even with a 10-second penalty, Miksic is fighting for his positions. He might actually do quite well. Oh, as the Mercedes now gets it wrong and brings the 96 into the fight. Although he's dragged into the fight and out of the visibility. It's like driving into thick fog for the Porsche at the moment. Slowing down reveals the car that he's chasing. So next it's the turn of the Porsche, I would assume, to make a mistake and have a lovely well-controlled slide either through turn 1 or somewhere else around the track. Oh, and that is Dunster off at the Schumacher S's. I have a feeling I know how that has happened. Oh my goodness, the rain is getting worse. It's getting heavier, and it's going to get heavier before it gets better. I wonder what race control is doing at the moment. I don't think, it's a bit of damage as well. I think he's within, it is possible if he's good with fuel to get to the end. So Dunster might be able to take a one and only pit stop to make it to the end. But that's the other thing to consider. These guys have been driving on these tyres for 50 minutes now, and the rain is getting heavier. It is not removing the water as much. As Minton getting a massive kick of oversteer on the curbs on the exit of the NGK chicane. Brave driving from the AAA Aston Martin. Really brave. How he's keeping that all together. I do not know. But the hunt that was for second for Minton, I think, has become a fight over third. We have... I thought we had a race director joining us for a second. That's actually what I was going to do. Mr. Suffer One, were you jumping into the ready to interview room for a reason?
Yes.
Fantastic. These conditions are getting quite bad, and at risk of sounding like a Formula 1 commentator, the Porsche's got it wrong at the Dunlop hairpin. That's going to bring the number 3 car back into it as well. At the risk of sounding like an F1 commentator, at what point do you, in race control, decide that it might be worth to throw the safety car out just for safety purposes? Because these tyres, or these drivers and these tyres, I don't think are quite built for this level of water on the track.
Actually, we were considering it, but the weather is not that bad for a safety car.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks from the side of the road. Obviously, you can see Janke's perspective. It looks sodden. And who was that? That's a Porsche off on the. I think that's a lap down. I think that'll be Dunster, isn't it? Yeah, it's Dunster. Just taking a different route to get out of the way. But yeah, it's not. Remco Langendijk's got it wrong as well in the S's. Are we sure that it's not too bad?
Well, now that I look at it, lots of people are spinning, but the thing is that the bad weather, the bad rain, should last only for a moment.
That's
only
precisely that's precisely the reason why I was asking. Is it is it something that you have considered? I understand. Well, from what as Krishnich has got it wrong as well. Oh my goodness! There is cars off all over the track as BMW looked to the inside. He hooked the curb on the inside, and that was enough to spin the car around. There's just so little traction in these conditions. Real challenge for the drivers. I'm going to let you get back to race control.
Exactly. I wanted to say, let me go back. Let me discuss this with the
have a discussion for sure. It's going to get worse before it gets better. If the drivers can hold on to it, this is going to be possibly one of the biggest challenges that I think these ISDA drivers have faced.
Okay. You will hear from me either way.
Of course. Good man. Catch you in a bit.
Yep.
130 car comes into the pits. I don't think this is going to be him giving up. I think this is the Porsche jumping at the first legitimate opportunity he's had to get into the pits to put a fresh set of boots on. And with the weather getting worse, this could be a dream decision for the 130 car. With fresh rubber on those wheels, there could be a significant chance for a top 10 finish in this race. He's looked at the forecast and seen a potential for places to be gained. Triple Eight car trying to survive. They're trying to make it to that halfway mark, and any time after that 1 hour mark, they will take that as a win and take that as less laps they need to put on to their tyres. JR supporting Brooker as the Mercedes of Mattia gets it very wrong. Oh my goodness, you need to look at that from a helicopter perspective. That shows just how challenging it is in these conditions. If you can get that replay, look at the sideways slide, beautifully held by Mattia there. Absolutely excellent car control, but just shows how easy it is for the car to just find its way onto the outside. Oh, I think all the problem was he got onto the white line on the outside of turn 1, and that was the point at which the left-hand tyres had zero grip on the road. Now, I do like when we have mandatory pit stops, because I can see then who has made their pit stops and who hasn't. As it is, I don't think that I'm going to be able to see that. Oh no, I can. Good. I can see who has made pit stops. It is only Brooker. It's only Brooker. Yeah, that... I think it's fair to say that was an astonishing save from Mattia Mex. And again, hats off to all of the ISDA drivers tonight who are doing an absolute legendary... Oh, that's a very difficult rejoin for Marsic there. Just had an accident through the Valvoline curve and rejoined on one of the entry roads back into the circuit, but almost into the path of one of the BMWs. There is damage on that car, and damage is not something you want to live with in these wet conditions. Brooker is demoted as far as 13th, but we need to watch his times keenly. He has the fresh rubber in these wet conditions. He's going to have all of the performance that he is going to have. And I think I've got to say it's a really good strategy. If he's got the fuel, this could be a master stroke by the Pride of the South. And yes, Marsic struggling with rain and damage. Minton takes to the pits. D'Couza takes to the pits. So, strategy calls starting to be wrung out. Minton, I think, has understood what he can do as far as fuel is concerned. He's going to fall as far as... Whereas he's just going to fall in front of the 33, so just behind D'Couza. But D'Couza also was in the pits. So the Triple Eight car will fall as far as 6th, 7th position. It's the 84 car. There we go. So it will be as far as 9th, I think, unless that car is a lap down. Give me just a second. Yeah. So I think as they come across the... I thought that was the end of split one there. That's annoying. As they come down to the Dunlop hairpin. Never seen that slip road. Yeah, there's a few cut throughs. So there's the endurance cut through that removes the Mercedes arena. We'll be familiar with that from the NLS as it used to be. There is a cut through that forms the sprint circuit on the right hand side as you come down towards Valvoline, and then there is the South Circuit, which takes in the Ford curve, the Dunlop hairpin, and the Schumacher S's into a right-hand hairpin and a 90-degree left that then takes you back out onto the track. So yes, lots of different circuits available for use at the Nurburgring GP circuit. The more you know. More interestingly, I think I want to see what that 888 car can do. That was 175 off the inside, I think. So Mex has been in and out of the pits. 175 Joricic has fallen away. Give me just a second to see if I can find that. I thought it was the 175 that got a big old kick of oversteer, but he's in the wrong part of the track. We've been watching Minton, who on a fresh set of boots has been able to put some laps in, and he's still on his outlap at the moment. Where did that... It was an Audi. It was one of the Audis. There we go. Oh, I'm so glad that ACC gives us replays. That makes life so much easier. Oh, I totally agree. Unfortunately, ACC is one of those... races they seem to... yeah, we seem to have... oh, what was I saying? Yes, ACC having replays is an absolute game changer for us as broadcasters. It means that we can go back and look and check and see what has been going on. That is the car of Arlavi, the 189, who was sideways across the track and now under pressure from the NSX of Decusa, the number 80 car. Minton has now done a complete lap. No, still not yet. So he's coming up to the end of the lap. We need to see just how quick this is for Minton. First flying lap as he comes through the chicane through the final corner. NSX has got straight line advantage over the Audi R8, but can they make the most of it for Decusa? Minton straight back on it with a 2:13.3. That Aston Martin is on fire, and I dare say this next lap, if he can hold it all together, might actually be even quicker. Decusa looks to the outside, under braking. The Audi goes defensive for Alavi. There is not very much traction in these conditions, but there is on the outside, and the NSX gets to the inside through the Mercedes chicane. The Audi gets a big slide on, well held there for Robert in the Audi. The NSX looking ever so slightly more composed than the Gen 2 Evo Audi. And so the position is gained. Technically speaking, this should be the quiet point of the race where all of the field is spread out and tries to undercut, overcut, pull some kind of strategy. But Zoran Jonjic takes to the pit lane. The strategy play for him to be pitting after the halfway mark to give him fresher tyres to the end of the race. The rain is as heavy as it's going to get for this race. And where will the man who drinks alcohol come out of the pits? 4 tyre change, a lot of fuel, and Miksik will take second position with the Mercedes of Mathieu Mex promoted temporarily to third. Miksik is pulling a definite strategy call here, trying to make that first run as long as possible to negate the cost of that 10-second penalty. You've got to suggest it's a difficult fight to have to work back from those 10 seconds. Romano Berenic, meanwhile, we need to take a lap with Romano, I think. His last lap was not valid, and that looks as though there is either damage or some evidence of dirt on that car. He's running in a GPX racing car, which doesn't look right. But down in towards turn 1, not brave enough to take to the lines on the outside. But it all looks fairly safe and secure at the moment. So where it just looks, he makes it look so easy. Oh, as the 25's off again. This is off in front of the leader as well. This could be a problem for both drivers in a very short space of time. Has Minton done another lap? Not yet. That's a 2:13.352. Wait for that time to come through. He's coming towards the end of the lap again. I'm wondering how much this undercut and the fresh treads on those wet tyres might make a difference. Look at how much work the Porsche is trying to put in to giving Romano a kick of oversteer. Schulich is slow. This is... Oh, it's a big off. It's a big off through Advan. Thankfully, squarely down the track, so no harm, no foul done, just perhaps a little bit of a flat spot. Although with the amount of water on the track, you have to wonder whether that would even concern him. 1:13.2 for the 888 car. Stulich has been deposed from the fight with that off. Now the fight becomes between the Aston Martin 888 car and the 24 car of Jonic. The gap is 5 seconds. But the 888 car has got tyres up to pressure as the 25 spins around in front of the leader, thankfully getting off the racing line. Really heads up driving there from Marsic. Keep the foot in it, get off the racing line, especially out of the way of the number 8 car. When is this Porsche going to pit? Porsche leads the way, 1-2. Of course, affected by pit stops. But who and when will they pit? It's an astonishingly long time they can run. Minton can push. Now Stulich is off his back. Absolutely. There is going to be an almighty fight as the weather clears up ever so slightly. You can see in the weather element in the top right hand corner, which I have to admit I've tried to get rid of quite a few times through my commentating in Assetto Corsa Competizione, and it just never disappears because I like the weather to be a mystery. just seems to be a permanent fixture when we're in the spectating cameras. Obviously not the worst thing in the world. But for sure, a difficult fight now. Speaking of a difficult fight, the 80 car, Dakuza hunting the 233 of Stulic, not able, seemingly, to get that car back into the performance window where he was before. He's going to come across the line now. A 214.1, 213.7 for the 80 car. This could be even more damage for the 233 and the Pirate Racing at Dalmatia car. As the 80 car, just to show how poor the visibility was. Make no mistake, that was not a purposeful track cut by the 80 car. That was absolutely Dakuza not being able to see under the spray of the NSX in front and just turning in and hoping that the corner was still there. For the Modulo Drago Corsa. Drago? One of the two. But the leader is in the pits. Where are the rest of the cars? Mixic is still behind. Yeah, 80 didn't even see the corner. Oh no, absolutely. No. He was hoping. He was hoping that the corner was there. The problem is, if he had turned in about 5 meters earlier, he would have met wall, which, while unfortunate, would have been really entertaining. Oh, big twitch from the 80 there. So the conditions still fighting our drivers as the 130 gets on the brakes. That is just out behind the leader. I would suggest a lap down. Otherwise, Brooker really has pulled an absolute blinder. But he is working with a very difficult setup at the moment. As Mixic finally into the pits as well. This is going to be an interesting pit stop. That 10-second penalty to be served as well. So where will Matty Mixic come out? The Mercedes is in the pits as well, as is the 3 BMW. Mixic is moving. The Mercedes moving as well. This is the 886 and the 96 fight for position as the 80 car goes through. Yeah, the 80 car goes through. So this is now the fight over 9th position. Fresh rubber on the 2 cars behind and more tired rubber, but critically race position for the cars ahead, and the Mercedes gets it wrong in the first part of the Mercedes arena. Oh, big slide from Matty MX. And a beautiful pirouette to get the car back facing the right direction. It's not over yet. Oh, I don't think he touched the barrier there. Which would have been even worse. Just in case you thought that fresh rubber was the answer, no, you still need to wait a couple of laps for the tyres to get to the point where they can work properly. I hate to... Jonic has made a mistake! Jonic has made a massive mistake through Advan. Was it Advan or the S's? It was Schumacher S's, was it? Oh, he didn't even touch the curb. Just the car let go of him. And reversing onto the track is difficult, but I can understand why he did it. That is second past the way of Minton. I saw the time coming down really quickly. I wondered what happened. Switched the camera on my screen as well to see Jonic sideways across the road. Minton to second. I said it would be a dominant race for Minton tonight. The revelation of the underdogs as far as the balance of performance is concerned. The Aston Martin perfectly balanced in these conditions, and the Porsche for Romano Berenic absolutely on point in the lead at the moment. The gap is 37 seconds. Yeah. Oh no, that was I saw the car. I saw the car going. That wasn't Soren's driving in the slightest. That was the car crying enough of these conditions. Critically though, they have survived the worst. We didn't need to bring out the safety car. The rain is beginning to let up and will continue to let up through the course of the race. Don't think we're going to get a dry track tonight, but for sure we are going to get the times start to tumble, and this is where Minton, now that he has that position, is going to have to think very carefully about how he drives. D'Couza now up behind Stulic. Stulic is trying to keep on the back of the 233, I think. Hello, Tom. Good evening, my friend. Yes, up the Mintons. Oh, he's driving like a man possessed tonight. I think he feels like Berenic is within reach. It's a difficult... It's going to be a big ask with a second that he fell out to the leader in that time. But Minton, we know Dan. He's going to fight tooth and nail every step of the way until he makes it happen. Setionic is now a fun race to try and catch Minton. Minton is absolutely... Minton has to be on fire. That's the only way that he can be keeping temperature in the tyres in the way that he is. If we look from the top, on the exit of every corner, he is basically sideways. Every traction zone, he's burning those rear tyres to keep them in their temperature. Again, eminently brave to touch that white line on the outside. Don't know how he's keeping that car in a straight line. Oh, this is going to be an excellent angle. So, into the Dunlop chicane. Run out wide. I haven't done a track map yet. I just realised that. Let's do it from the Schumacher S's. So, a big lift just before the Schumacher S's. I'm brewing that Aston thing, I totally agree. A lift off the throttle and back on for the exit. Make sure the front end has enough traction to drag you through. Up towards Valvoline, break down to second gear, especially in these wet conditions. Pray that you can use the camber. Don't go out onto the AstroTurf on the outside. That isn't going to give you any grip whatsoever. Through the Ford, through Warsteiner then, and out to the back straight through Bogan, clunking through the gears. It's a brave man that can go flat through Bogan in these kind of conditions, but on the brakes into the NGK chicane, using the faster endurance chicane, not the F1 chicane. Use that material on the inside to allow the car to drift wide and then into Coca-Cola. First gear, get the traction down, use the horsepower rather than the torque to get you out of the corner, and then it's back across the start-finish straight. And breathe for just a moment. It's the only time you're going to be able to for the next couple of minutes. Watch for the markers on the left-hand side. Stamp on the brake as hard as you can. Different racing lines coming into turn one. But foregoing the apex in these wet conditions for the grip that is likely to be on the outside. Same again through the first of the Mercedes arena to left-hand turns. And then braking, turning in towards the apex as you turn. And then the right-hander on the exit. Quick flick of oversteer to remind yourself that the car is still trying to kill you at every turn. Now down in towards Valvoline, brakes down to second gear, gets the nose right on the inside, not to kiss the curb entirely though, just in the middle of the road before you come back to forward, and then it's back onto the throttle. Not a straight, but a upshifting acceleration zone where we come back to where we started this onboard lap with Minton. Dunlop hairpin. Any line works through this corner as long as it's on the black stuff. Incredible out, in, out, turning it almost into two corners for the Minton driver, and a beautiful example of just how competent Minton is behind the wheel of that Aston Martin GT3 car, drifting through the Schumacher S's. It has been a legendary drive by Minton tonight. Absolutely, oh my goodness, he's four-wheel drifting it through Warsteiner. That's a death sentence coming out on to the back straight. We have our race director joining us again for just a second. He waited for the ready to interview room, so it's obviously not too critical. How's it going? Oh, how's it going, Andre?
It's good. It's good and not good. Obviously, we didn't call out safety car, and I don't think we will, because it was basically borderline the whole time. And there was a point by one of our stewards that not many people actually changed tires yet. And the weather was going to get better from that. So after the drivers changed tires, it was getting a bit better. Mostly it was one driver who was spinning. That was lots of yellow flags, but it was one driver, and he managed to not endanger anyone else too much, maybe at all. And I was really close to calling it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's been a challenge for all of the drivers. I've been saying about the difference between the cars, but it really doesn't matter when the conditions are getting to the point where it's borderline flooded. The cars are more akin to boats than they are to pristine racing cars at that point.
Yes, even to a point when even the straight line is not straight anymore, and you have to control the car so you wouldn't spin.
Yes, yeah, it has been a massive challenge. I do hope that the drivers that are going to be watching this back after the race take note from at least the commentator, and I think this race director. You've all gone up a massive amount in our estimations of you just by getting to this point of the race and surviving those awful conditions in the midpoint of the race.
Yes.
But outside of the initial altercations and interactions between the drivers, it's been a very clean race and a very responsible one from all of the drivers who are still on the track, I think it's fair to say.
Exactly. I was really pleasantly surprised by first lap. There was basically no incident on the first lap other than some minor door rubbing. But other than that, the drivers were really clean, and at some point I think I even saw one driver to come to a halt on the first turn, just not to crash into anyone. Not many drivers would just stop on the track to avoid the collision, but it was actually nice to see that the responsibility is there.
Yes.
And everyone else was really aware of other cars and so on. And it might be, the conditions might contribute to that even, because everyone is kind of being careful on their own, like not only because it's the race start, but just because of the conditions, they are just trying to. They're being more careful than usual.
it's fantastic to see this level of professionalism from drivers who are essentially sat in their houses. Big slide from Stulic. He's really struggling in that Pirate Racing NSX. It's great to see all these who are, to all intents and purposes, gentlemen drivers, aren't they, really? Driving so competently and so professionally. And as you say, it's just been an excellent testament to how the live stewarding system, if nothing else, pulls the best out of, gets the best out of these GT3 drivers. Just because they have ABS and traction control doesn't mean that they aren't pushing as hard as they can, but they're still driving with their heads.
Yes, exactly. To a point where they can actually turn off the traction control and ABS, and they would be probably faster if they would learn to control it, like you have in GT3. I think it's GT4. It's Maserati, isn't it?
The Maserati or the Chevrolet is going to be one of the two.
Yeah, I think it's Maserati in GT4 that doesn't have ABS or
Maserati,
traction control.
Stuart has got it wrong. Stuart's got it wrong in the Mercedes arena. That is a pass made for 4th position for the 80 car of Dacusa. Sorry to cut you off there, Andre.
No worries.
But as you were saying, the discipline and the attitude of the drivers here really have been absolutely stellar. It makes you think what would happen if we put them through in some of the GTC cars that also don't have the facilities for traction control or ABS.
It would be fun for sure.
It would be interesting. Unfortunately, the majority of the classes in Assetto Corsa Competition aren't really given much attention in the greater scheme of things, are they? And it is heartbreaking to see the amount of work that goes into all of these cars, and they are very much underappreciated and neglected for the GT3 class. I know for a fact that ISDA isn't among those who neglect it, and we have seen plenty of competition in the other classes, but this is, again, a message to all the drivers who are participating in ACC. Please, 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 do give the other classes a chance. They are absolutely astonishingly good fun, and they're built properly, just like these GT3 cars. And you can come and race at ISDA with them. So you can race against other people and have this kind of incredible respect shown between the drivers. Think that's fair?
I think that's reasonable, yes.
I'll
go.
I'll let you get back to your responsibilities, but any closing comments?
If the rain would last for 5-10 minutes longer, there would be a safety car.
So it was absolutely on your radar, so to speak.
Exactly. It was so close, so borderline that it was driving me actually insane here.
I bet. But they weathered the storm. We didn't have to include the safety car, and all of the strategies that everybody has played out to try and get themselves to the end of the race have absolutely worked so far. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Andre. I'll let you get back to your responsibilities. If you want to come and have a chat at the end of the race, you are more than welcome back into the com box. It might be we might have you in actually for the rest of the interviews as well, because maybe then you can offer some different perspectives and different questions for the drivers.
We will see. Yeah, we will see. I will certainly consider it.
No problem. Jump straight in here if you want to. All right.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I'll catch you in a bit. You have a good rest of your race.
You too.
Cheers. So that was the race director, who I think has got a better eye on what has been going on around the track, with plenty of replays to be watching as well. This fight over fourth between the two Hondas is just the two cars taking it in turns to get very, very out of shape around different parts of the lap. Just because the rain is easing doesn't mean that the cars or the drivers are letting up in their pace. The 80 car currently looking comfortable for this fourth position, but there's still half an hour left to go in this session. As I'm pretty sure the term has been coined, anything can happen in the next 30 minutes. And to be perfectly honest, it probably is going to. Jonic has made a mistake. Takuza has made mistakes. Stulic has made mistakes. Minton has made mistakes. It's not been a picture-perfect race for anybody other than the 8 Porsche so far. But who will claim victory come the end? You have to find it difficult to bet against this Porsche of Romano Baranic. But again, it only takes one miscalculation, like going into the pits with half an hour to go. I am speechless. Is this a free pit stop? No, it's not a free pit stop. Minton is going to take the lead. What is Baranic doing? I am speechless. I have run out of words. Jonic is starting to get... Is 30 seconds enough to get in and out of the pits? I'm gonna keep an eye on the leader. He's right at the very start of the pit lane as well. It's going to be Minton to the lead. It's going to be Minton to the lead. The leader has pitted. With half an hour to go, Romano Baranic has pitted from the lead. Is that damage? Is that what's happened to that car? Possibly fuel. I couldn't imagine he's been stationary for too long. What has happened to the 8 Porsche? He's still stationary. How is he still stationary? Is this a retirement for the man who was leading by 38 seconds when he came into the pits? This is extraordinary. Minton comes through the split for the first time and will lead the International Sim Drivers Association 2 hours of Nurburgring. The Aston Martin is in the lead and is in a commanding 6.5 second lead as well. The car's still stationary. Baranic is falling down the grid. He has fallen as far as Tadic in the 84. This is 9th. This is possibly 10th. That's also possible. That is possible. In fairness, I've had that tonight, so this is unprecedented. I've never seen this. Is still stationary as well. So, with the fastest lap time, Romano Baranic will, I think, drop out of the top 10. Oh, well and truly out of the top 10. And Andrew Brooker will be promoted to 11th. In a race of survival, Romano Baranic has disconnected I said that anything could happen in the next half hour. I didn't mean that it could happen in 5 minutes. Oh my goodness, this is the biggest case of commentator curse that I've ever seen. There is nothing in Discord chat. There is no sign of Romano in the Discord. There is no sign of Romano on track. So the driver with the fastest lap of the race, and it will remain that way. I didn't mean to curse him. That was so mean. The man with the fastest lap will remove himself from proceedings, and Dan Minton will take the lead with, oh my goodness, with a 4-point-second gap to Jonic. Jonic smells a victory suddenly with 25 minutes to go. His mum sent him to bed. Jonic has got the scent of victory, but at the moment he is not closing enough on Minton to be able to make it happen. He was faster last time by, and that could be the tyre difference, but Minton has track position. And the NSX is quick, but I don't think it's that quick in a straight line. Oh my goodness. Suddenly, this race has been thrown absolutely to the dogs. I didn't mean to curse anyone. I don't know how I can do it this reliably. That's what I don't understand. Baranich went to the pit lane and retired. That's all I can say. We know nothing more than that at the moment. Anything can happen. It doesn't matter how many laps you lead, there's only one lap that you need to lead, and that is the final one. Minton has reopened the gap. It was just below 5 seconds, and now it's back above that number. Oh my goodness. Wheel gun broke, needed to retire. Yep. That Porsche wheel nut isn't going to come off now until they get it back to Weissach. Longest pit stop in history. Mercedes are going to have a challenger here tonight. Ferrari mechanics for the 911. Come on then. How many more have you got? How many more pit lane retirements, technical issues have you got for me? Let's fill the chat with reasons, real life reasons why the number 8 Porsche has had to retire. You never know. He may have just retired to say, I've proven what I can do. Now, go at it, boys. There's my line in the sand. Andrew Brooker, meanwhile, circulating now in 11th. This will be points for the 130, I think. So, through pain and tribulation, Brooker is going to see a result from this. God. I didn't realise that my curse was that reliable. I'll make sure to use it only on the... I'll make sure to use this power responsibly from now on. Matty Miksic in the 96 Porsche, meanwhile. The sole Pirate Racing Porsche in the top 10. Dunster is in the 4-car, circulating around in 13th. This is honestly, as I reckon Dan paid him. I wouldn't surprise him. He's probably paid him with a drive in the Escort. That's what's happened. He needs to fund the tickets, but next time Dan's at a track, he'll just slip the keys to Romano and just be like, there you go. Thanks for that. I am astonished. I am not going to mention the Triple Eight car for the rest of this commentary now for fear of doing it again. And meanwhile, the 96 car still trying to hunt down the 233 of Stulic as BMW's got it wrong at turn 1. Was that Tadic? Give me a second. That was Tadic. Just a very simple spin on the brakes. Just because the rain has eased up doesn't mean that you can go across that curb on the inside anymore. No positions gained on. He was very much on his own for the moment, but Arlavi, if he can pull back in the 5 seconds, has an opportunity to make a position up into 8th position. Eyes fall on Zoran Jonic. He's, for the most part, survived the wet. No more commentary curses yet. Jonic survives the wet. He survived the flood. But what can he do now that the track might possibly be coming back towards the Honda? On the brakes, it's still very pointy for the rebadged Acura. That's going to annoy some people. But he's got the gap back down under 4 seconds. Under 5 seconds, sorry. Could this be a push for the win from the Honda? All starting to look a little bit more controlled and sane. Meanwhile, D'Couza has made a position on Stulic off screen. How did that happen? I dare say that may have been a mistake from the 233. He was gaining. Jonic was gaining, and he does have some time, but the pace of that Aston Martin is going to be difficult to beat. And Minton, how do I put it? Even if Minton had the slower car, into Mercedes cars. Oh yeah, it did. Ages ago. Yeah, of course. I thought the gap was reversed for a while. Anyway, D'Couza to the podium, which is excellent. And now the gap is out to about 3 seconds between 3rd, 4th, and 5th as well. So at the head of the pack, starting to just spread out ever so slightly with the strategies and the amount of life left in the tyres, basically dictating how fast the drivers can pedal their cars. Jonic has time, he has the pace, but as a certain great commentator who is unfortunately no longer with us once said, catching is one thing, passing is another. And if I know Minton, and I've commentated a few of his races, he is a legend at defending. If anyone can keep Jonic behind in these conditions on this day, Minton is the man who is going to make it happen. It's still really, really wet, and it's still a massive kick of oversteer on the exit. There's still not a lot of traction in these conditions here. The gap's gone down as far as 4 seconds, it looks like, but is that due to pace or traffic? Nope, they are out on their own. So the 24 car brings the gap all the way down to 3.9 seconds. That time, 0.8 of a difference as they come down to the line. Catching is one thing, having a curse-dropping commentator is another thing completely. I don't mean to do it. It's not on purpose. I am just trying to talk everybody through the race and give you a unique perspective. But apparently, unique perspectives are curses to these drivers. We still had no sign of Romano in the Discord, so I dare say that is either an internet issue or he's been called away from the PC and will take no further part. But my goodness, this is coming to a head. I'm sure Minton is well aware of the threat from behind. I'm sure Minton is acutely aware of the gap from behind, and I would put money, again, I would put money on the fact that Dan is probably getting those tyres into a position where he can defend like a win depends on it. Oh wait, a win does depend on it. Astonishing how this was looking like such a sensible, calm conclusion to the race, and suddenly creeping slowly, catchy monkey to the end of this race. Make sure you click the like button. Get this stuff higher on YouTube's recommended. Oh no, of course, Yonich will stay in the lead in the championship. That's not the point. The point is Minton will win while I'm commentating him. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. In the slightest. Didn't mention it. No one heard it. Just having a look at the season standings, because I am really interested. Now, of course, Yonich will... It's on me if Minton loses. I totally agree. Now, if Yonich gets second, of course, he will keep the win. But Tutich is nowhere to be seen on the current timing screen, so we'll score nil points from this race. Mathieu Mex in the 886 is in 7th position and will score several points. Romano Berenic, who has won so many seasons of ISDA racing in ACC, for Pirate Racing has scored a 3rd position, and tonight will be a DNF. My goodness, what? Oh, the 94. Is that the 84? The 84 of Tadic has got it wrong at turn 1. This is again right in front of the leaders. there will be a 888 car coming through fairly shortly. And this is going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons yet again. More traffic for the leaders to contend with. And it's a massive ask. It's quite a gaggle of cars that they're coming up to. Another skill comes to the fore, traffic management, and how well these guys can hold their own amongst blue flag drivers. Obviously, we're hoping that the drivers will get out of the way. Oh, that's a mistake for Brooker. By the looks of it. Haven't seen him on Discord. Brooker has got, is that damage on the front? That bonnet does look dislodged, but I could also be, yeah, he has had damage there. Ooh, so he will make his way off the track to get out of the way of the other drivers. That is a heartbreaking end to Brooker's race. But he's still, I think he's still in a position to score points here. Bathroom call, it's too long to be a bathroom call, and he wouldn't have been disconnected from that. It's, yeah. But the 130 car is now running. Yeah. A burrito from a doubtable source. All burrito sources are doubtable, Yankees. 130 car now is going to have to be nursing himself home, unfortunately. I can't remember the scoring system, or indeed how to find it. Haha. Just trying to work out. Oh, there we go. Let's just. Yeah, so points all the way down to 15th. Position. So Brooker still in the run for points as Stulich gets it very wrong and almost gets taken down by the 96ers as well, having an almighty slide. I dare say it's not over yet. Jonic is closing down the gap slowly but surely, but we're under 10 minutes to go. It's still 3 seconds. Miksic now ahead of the NSX of Stulich, who has had an atrocious race this time with another big oversteer moment for the Honda. Just about keeps it on track this time, but now he's going to be under pressure from Krishnic. There is plenty of time left in this race for things to go south. I wonder. Hang on, I need to do some quick maths, and I do mean really quick maths. 7th position for, that's 9 points and 25 for the win. So if Minton wins, will he take? This is a key question. Will he take any positions? More importantly, he is 7 points behind Mattia Mex. This, if Minton wins, this would be him second in the championship behind Zoran Jonic. Even if he comes second, I still think Quick and dirty maths, obviously. But, yeah. First or second, doesn't matter. Minton will be second in the championship, leaving this round. Just hope that we can get the statistics up as quick as possible after the race so that we can show you that in numbers. Oh my goodness. And this is where the final 5 minutes become the final 5 hours. The drivers have held on for 1 hour and 55 minutes. They've pulled their strategy. They've made their pit stops when they meant to. I hope it is great maths. I can't vouch for the validity of it until everything comes, obviously until the checkered flag. But I'm certainly hoping that that my maths was correct. Name a taxi to a friend of you're free. I actually very recently got into a new job that is in the financial sector, and you know what? I've always disliked working with money. If you ask the guys here at ISDA how much I dislike working with money, they will tell you just how hard it is to give me any. But they have my details now, so I can't really say anything to them. Yeah, having started doing a financial job for the day job makes me have a disdain for this for money even more. So please don't ask me to do your taxes. I am PAYE for a reason. Yeah, Yankees he's a gem, but there are times when I do not like him. That was yeah, very interesting. Pay me in jelly beans. That's perfect. Can you pay me in jelly beans, tea, possibly coffee, or if you have it, full English breakfasts. 5 full English breakfasts to sort your taxes. Yeah, we stick to comms. Exactly. Shockingly, I can't believe I'm saying this. Jonic has not been able to close down the gap to the leader. With 3 minutes remaining, it would have to be a second a lap, and I don't think that Porsche has got a second a lap in it. Plenty of Yorkshire tea. No, we drink Lancashire tea in our house. Yorkshire tea is a good substitute, but I urge you to try Lancashire tea. It is so nice. Let's just appreciate we probably have 2 laps remaining in this fight. There are more than 2 types of tea. There's a million types of tea, you uncultured swine. Who is going to educate the European in how many different types of tea there are? And how many staunch supporters of particular brands there are as well? This could be... I think this is another 2 laps. Yeah, it's definitely another 2 laps. So, with the clock counting down, the gap between first and second, Dan Minton to Zoran Jonic, is 3 seconds. You can see the orange in the distance. We can't anymore because we're on board with the leader. Oh man, what a topsy-turvy race. It is Dakusa that is a mere 13 seconds back from this fight, and then Mixic with the Pirate Racing Porsche a further 14 seconds back from there. The 233 of Stulic is a second back from Mixic, but I don't think he has an answer to to the stability of the Porsche in these conditions. Igor Krisnich is the first of our BMWs, starting in 6th, where this man, Dan Minton, started the race. Mattia Mex in the 886, circulating really stably in 7th position, with Robert Earler. Oh, Minton's had an incident. This is on the exit of Warsteiner. As Minton gets it wrong through the NGK chicane, he's got 1 lap left. The gap will not be 3 seconds coming to the line. The NSX is threatening in the background. We aren't there yet.
Give it all you can.
Try to shoot stick to it. Brooker's made a tiny mistake, but he is still safe in that 11th position. Fantastic drive from Andy tonight. JR, if you are in other contact with him, don't let him come to speak to us tonight. It's he's absolutely earned every position that he's got, as Igor Krisnich will be given a drive-through. That's going to be for track limits as well. Oh, and the BMW that was performing so consistently will have to crawl onto the last lap on the pit limiter. That is going to actually not make too much of a difference to him, because there's a big gap behind him, I think. Either that or Alavi has already passed. No, that is a legitimate time. So that drive-through penalty in the end will not affect the finishing position for the number 3 car. Bellato still hunting down that 8th position behind Alavi. Come on, Dan, stroke it home. There's nothing else to do now. There's one more tricky corner to negotiate before I actually conclude this properly. Oh my goodness. We ride on board with the leader, who will negotiate the NGK chicane. He was second on after the pit stops. Jonic made the mistake. It was the consistency and the relentless speed that is going to give Dan Minton the win at the Nurburgring for the 2 hours of ISDA racing. Zoran Jonic did everything he could to hunt down the 888 car after that critical single mistake for on the exit of the S's. The 2 Pirate Racing drivers will come to the line attached by a short piece of string, but it will be the Porsche that wins out over the line. D'Couza with a quiet race, other than the fighting with the Pirate Racing 2 through 3 of Stulic, who will in the end have to settle for 5th. Mattia Mex was featuring so highly in the early stages of the race, drifted away just on pace as the Mercedes was not able to live with the leading pace. Igor Krisnich in the end was able to get away with that drive-through in the dying moments, as Arlavi still on the defensive from Dennis Bellato. Just because the winner has passed the checkered flag doesn't mean the race is over already. This fight over 8th position still raging on. I don't think the Mercedes is going to have the performance. It's all about the Audi needing to hold it together through the final few corners. And of course, yep, absolutely massive shout out to Mr. Brooker, who will come away with points. Critically massive shout out to Brooker, who has been fighting a pain in his back and his leg to take home points in 11th position. So, Oh my goodness. So the final standings will be Minton, Jonic, Dekuza, Miksik, Stulic, Mex, Krishnic, Alavi, Balato, Tadic, Brooker, Zoricic, Dunster, and Marsic. Across the line, Romano, Berenic, the driver who set the fastest lap of the race, retired with half an hour to go. Remco Langendijk also will count as a retirement with plus 31 laps, plus 40 laps for Miljevic, or the both Miljeviches struggling to get to the end of the race, with Blecic also in the 10 car having to retire. An incredibly difficult race, and while we wait for the drivers to gather their thoughts and gather their breath, we will once again say thank you to Sim Racing Pro for sponsoring this show that all of the drivers have put on tonight. And please enjoy this ad. It was a rain-soaked Nurburgring, which we took to racing, and incredible respect shown from all of the drivers through the opening stints, and only a couple of very incidental accidents that were punished as harshly as they were intended to. First, we have our race director in. The checkered flag has flown. The race in the second half was extraordinarily clean for the conditions. How is it from your perspective? Are you satisfied with that race? You happy? Were you enjoying that?
I'm really happy about how clean it was, especially in the beginning. Later it got a bit messy, but only for a couple of drivers. Generally it was really clean race for what conditions were on the track. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What an incredible race, and it's one of those things where it's really you can't really you couldn't have had this any shorter, because if it had been an hour and a half, different cars would have come to the front. If it had have been an hour, different cars would have thrived even in those soaking wet conditions. But it was because it was those 2 hours that we got the race that we did.
Yes, the 2 hour endurance, especially with the dynamic weather, are really great from this perspective. But I think 2 hours is a really long time, especially on a weekday.
Of course. Yeah,
but
we did see messages posted in the Discord chat. Which, if you aren't part of our Discord community here at ISDA, why on earth aren't you? Click the link below and get involved. Sorry, Andre. Carry on.
No worries, no worries. What was I saying, actually?
The length of the race. It's a bit long for a weeknight. It's a long old slog.
It is long, but we were kind of hoping of getting a repeat of one legendary Spa race. 2 hour endurance with dynamic weather. Where the race started out dry, then in the middle it started to rain, and then it stopped, so the race also ended on dry track.
Yeah.
That was...
Well, this was slightly different, but still much of the same. Very, very difficult conditions, as we discussed during the race. But in the end, the drivers all made it work. the standard of driving was upheld, and these guys absolutely schooled all of these open lobbies where they say, "Oh, you can't race in the rain."
Yes, I would say so as well.
So I urge you to stick around while we drag the other drivers in. First of all, we need to have a word with our third place finisher, Matti Miksik. It
Hello.
was a slog of a race for the 96 Porsche, but my goodness, did it ever come good in the end. Talk us through your perspective of the race.
Yeah, it was a great race. I didn't expect to finish where I finished because I don't know, I didn't trust the car very much, but I saw that people had pretty much all of the time problems, so I just kept going and tried to not crash.
Now, I may
It's
have bigged up the Porsche during the qualifying sessions. We always know that the way that the Porsche works it really is conducive to wet conditions, and especially when you've got the traction areas like out of turn 1, out of the Dunlop hairpin, and out of the final corner. The Porsche really does come into its own a bit, but you really had to do the work tonight, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it was like drifting, I think, all the time in oversteer, but it was fine. I figured out that the last corner is better in first, but that was like in the last 20 minutes of the race. So I lost a lot of time on the last corner, whole race.
Yeah, it's okay. I made that mistake a million times. I really.
Yeah.
It's strange. You don't think that the car's got the range, and then you try it because like, we'll see. And there's so much torque and traction and power there when you actually go for it.
Yeah, there is so much more traction in the first gear because I don't know why, but the traction is like 2 times better than in the second gear. Second gear is, I think, too strong and too long for that corner.
It's because there's less torque higher up in the engine.
Yeah.
So in drier conditions, you can get you can take it in second because the torque will pull you out the corner, whereas the torque in the wet just spins the rear tyres. They are very much traction limited at that point. So no, an excellent display, a ridiculously good drive from yourself. Absolute congratulations for taking that third position.
Yeah, thank you very much. I didn't expect to pass Carlo, but we had a synchronized slide in the second corner, I think.
Don't worry, we got that on camera.
Oh yeah, nice.
You were,
yeah, nice.
You were so close. How close was it in the end? We didn't get to see it from on top. How close was it between you and Kevin?
I think it was less than half a second in the last corner, I think. It was not very much. I thought he will pass me.
How close between when you both had those slides in the Mercedes arena?
Oh, I don't know. It was very close. I saw him in the radar, but I need to watch it again, so I see.
It was an astonishing display. You kept it all together. You say that it was drifting the entire time. You're on camera as well at the moment. But absolutely dominant display from, as far as the Porsche is concerned, from Romano. Have you had any word from him yet?
No, I need to speak to him, but I don't know what happened. I just saw Dan, it was first, and I was so confused. I didn't know what happened.
Yeah, he dropped into the pit lane and essentially quit out. Obviously, no idea what actually happened.
Maybe a hard crash or something. So
yeah, we need to chase that up. We'll obviously have to feedback when we can, but please pass our regards on to him.
Yeah, of course.
Hope that everything's all right on his end as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll get to us before we do.
Yeah, hope so. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, you are a podium winner at ISDA. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, finally.
See you next time.
Thank you.
It's Watkins Glen.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Yeah. Not quite the stomping ground for the Porsche, but
no, but it's fun. Yeah,
it's a great track. We'll jump on board with you for the qualifying session next time then, yeah, shall we?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. See you.
Mate. See you later. Have a good evening.
Bye bye.
And then we go in ascending order. Zoran Jonjic won't be singing tonight, will you be drinking alcohol though?
Probably.
I don't blame you. What a race!
Yeah. Probably one of the hardest I did ever.
I don't think that requires saying. Right. The one mistake that we saw, it was a big one. Through
Yeah.
the Schumacher S's. Now, let me very quickly just say, we've all, I think all of the drivers that are listening here have made a similar mistake as far as ending up in the position you were in. I don't think I've ever seen someone keep a car on the track and it just go. Normally, it's because you've ridden across the curbs and you've destabilized the car, tires aren't in contact with the road, and that's why you spin. I've never seen someone stay entirely on the tarmac and spin. Just how difficult was it keeping the NSX in a straight line through this race?
In the first stint, like in closing half an hour, it was super hard to keep it. I was losing the car on the main straight in that right corner, the back straight, because I kind of ran a setup which was a little bit of hybrid from wet to dry.
Yep.
Because I thought that track will dry a second stint, so I kind of made a hybrid setup. So I had so much front-ended downforce, and I was losing the car in these fast corners. But I'm so mad at myself because usually I don't do huge mistakes. I'm or fast or slow, or I do some little mistakes, but not huge mistakes by myself. But considering that Romano gave up, and I would be probably, if mistake didn't happen, I would be second place anyways. But I tried to catch Minton later. He was really fast too, so I ran out of time. Yeah.
During the first few seasons of ISDA, I had a bit of a tagline for Dan, and that was the fastest man never to have won in ISDA. He is an exceptional talent, and I'm going to do this on his behalf, whether he likes it or not. He does actually have a YouTube channel where he documents his real world racing in a Mark II Escort. So the man knows how to drive. I'll say that much.
I know that really well from season 1. I think that maybe, I'm guessing that Aston is not suiting him very well this season. I know how fast he was in Bentley last season. We had some fights there, but right now he really surprised me in the end how fast he is today on Aston Martin, right? So
yeah.
Congratulations to him. I forgot to say, because I'm dead man at the moment. I'm trying to
you're good. Absolutely
stay
fine.
awake. Yeah.
Absolutely fine. No, I totally agree. Right, we'll let you get off. I was really hoping that Dan was going to come to the ready to interview room before we were finished with you, but no, we'll let you get off. By all means, go and have a drink. It was incredibly hard work tonight. Congratulations on the second place. You will retain the lead in the championship for sure. As it turns out, Jonic is touchable, and quite touchable at that, and apparently you can make mistakes. I must admit, I didn't think that was possible from you.
Yeah, now I know too, so probably won't happen again.
I was going to say,
so.
All it requires is a flooded track and a car with a hybrid dry wet setup.
Yeah.
So was it just ride height? The car just didn't have enough ride height to get above the water level?
No, I raised up front end a bit, but I had so much rear end raised up too, so I had so much front downforce. So it was correcting the car all the time, and I had to run like huge traction control to keep it stable. So I was losing on exits, and in the end, when truck started to dry up, I could drive with the lower traction control, so I immediately started to gain time.
Right.
So that's it. But I'm happy in the end.
Sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll take the second place when you have such a big off like that. I'm not going to call it luck, because it was absolutely skill that kept you out of the wall there.
Imagine me with the McLaren wheel. It's like Formula style wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the rounded one.
Nope.
Maybe if I had the rounded, I could drift it out there.
Yes.
But if you lose it like over 90 degrees, it's better
You can't.
to get off the wheel. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. What wheel
Yeah.
is it that you have as well?
I have a Fanatec CSL Elite wheelbase together
Oh
with
my.
McLaren GT3 rim. I also
That's-
have that P1 rounded wheel and another Formula style wheel, but I like this.
Oh yeah,
Oh, it's,
absolutely.
yeah.
No. My problem, my question was how much torque was it trying to break your thumbs off with?
I run it well. Let's say medium, but because you're driving on the rain, it's not much force feedback you have on the wheel. But when it starts to spin left and right without the control,
Yep.
it's better
It
to
hurts.
get hands off. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
No,
it.
no, absolutely. I've been told many a story about broken thumbs and sprained hands from that. Zoran, it's been wonderful having you in. You absolutely brought life to those
Thank you, Ike.
dying moments of the race. As always, yeah, thank you so much. You're absolutely brilliant, and thank you for coming to have a chat to us so reliably as well. Have a lovely evening. Enjoy. If you're still on your stream, enjoy the rest of your stream, and absolutely go have a drink.
Thank you. Cheers,
No worries,
man.
Cheers. And finally, into the commentator's box for the first time this season, I'm pretty sure, and our winner, Mr. Dan Minton.
Hello, Ike. How you doing?
I am doing so much better for being able to say that you've won again.
Yeah, broken the jinx, I think.
You really have. It relied on a bit of a death for Romano, but
Yeah,
screw
what
it.
happened? What happened to Romano?
We haven't had word from him at the
Someone
moment.
said something about hot water, HW, so I was thinking hot water. I don't know.
Ah, okay. Hopefully,
No, I don't
hopefully
know.
it's. No, I was going to say hopefully it is just plumbing, but
Yeah,
either way,
I'll
it's-
take it. That's good.
Exactly, it's a technical issue. It's a thing that happens in racing. How many times have we seen people retire from the lead? As soon as
Exactly.
as soon as that happened to him, I
Yeah.
straight up said, like, I'm not mentioning your name for the rest of the race.
Yeah.
I was willing you
Oh, nice one, cheers.
to that
Thanks, mate.
to that checkered flag. No.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite it's just quite a fun race. Even though I'm not a massive fan of the wet, but it was it was good fun trying to stay with Kevin at the beginning. We were both making a few mistakes and kept catching him, and he kept pulling away a little bit, and then obviously Zoran was catching me at the end a little, and I thought I was counting down the minutes, just like I've just got to keep it smooth. I can't make a mistake, So it was good fun in the end.
And I think that was the key word there, keeping it smooth. We were watching you a lot during the start of the race with those NSXs, and the thing that stuck out most was just how smooth and controlled and how neutral the car was.
It felt pretty good.
I was going to say, it looks as though this is the first time where the Aston has properly suited you this season.
Yeah, the setup was alright. I mean, to be honest, it didn't feel that much better than the other races, but obviously it was something a little bit better because I could stay with the Hondas. But yeah, it was just you just got to be so smooth with all your inputs. You just got to be super smooth and just. Yeah, it feels slow, but if it feels slow, sometimes it can be you're doing it right. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
King of the Hill tonight. We
Yep.
go out of King of the Hill tonight. We go over to Watkins Glen next.
that
next
should be good.
race.
Yeah.
I was going to say the Aston Martin should have a bit of strength there.
I don't know really. I think with the sweeping corners and the straights, I think the Hondas are going to be. I think
Yeah.
they're going to be gone. But
It's going to be
it's the way it is. It's the way
Yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
It's all good. But I'll give it my best shot. Don't worry. I'll give.
I don't think you have any other way of driving. I've got to be
That's
honest.
it.
In all the time that we've seen you driving, I don't think there's ever a time. You much like Andrew in the Porsche.
Yeah.
There's never a time that you're not trying. If it's not trying outright speed, it's trying strategy. It's trying.
Yeah. I mean, in this race, I see who was in front of me. Kevin was in front of me, and I see him pit. So then the tyres were just going. The tyres were completely destroyed, and the set times were really low. So, but I managed to jump him in the pit stop. So, and then by that time, a couple of laps later, I was six seconds in front of Kevin. So, and I think he must have made a couple of mistakes because he started dropping back. So,
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
something wrong with that car in the second stint.
Yeah.
He was having massive oversteer issues.
Because I was expecting to sort of start catching me up a little bit. Because
No,
it's
no.
like with a carrot dangling and stuff. So yeah, but no, it was it sort of fell into my hand. So, but I was there to pick up the pieces, and you can only beat what's in front of you at the end of the day, what's on the track. So it's all good.
100%.
I'll take it. Yeah.
100%. And as we come to your race finish, I mean, it's of all the races to win, this is probably one of the big ones, isn't it?
Yeah, shame the attendance was a bit low, but
Yeah.
but
Happy.
you know, at the end of the day, you're still racing. Don't matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you say, you made your own luck tonight. The car was more underneath you, which was, I think
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
pretty much the first.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Yeah, it wasn't too difficult to drive. It was nice to drive. So if it's nice to drive, then you can go quite well. So yeah, happy with that.
Lovely. So
Right.
that will promote you as far as third in the championship.
Yeah, that's good.
1 point now behind Kevin Tudich in the Baby Godzilla NSX.
Okay.
And of course, Yonichi is miles out in front for the time being. But third place, pretty damn decent for the old Aston.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep pushing on. Don't worry.
Good man.
Yeah.
We'll
I'll
hopefully
see
speak to you
see if I
next
can
time.
win it.
Yeah. No, we'll go for it. Go for
Nice
it.
one,
Love to be speaking to you again at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, no, I'll try my best, mate.
Good man.
Don't worry.
Catch you in a bit.
Thanks, Ike. Take
Cheers.
it easy. Cheers,
Bye.
mate. Bye.
And that is, I think, all we're going to have tonight. It was a grueling 2 hours at the Nurburgring. As you can see, the rain came down. It got to the point where we were toying with the idea of having to throw out a caution and get the pace down until the race had finished, or until the weather decided to let off. But that never ended up happening. The maturity of the ISDA drivers, the competency of everyone up and down the grid absolutely saved this race. And at the end, it is Minton that stands tall in the Aston Martin, the driver who has worked so hard for so many years and got so little back as far as championships are concerned, finally takes the win at the Nürburgring. Can he take it to the NSXs in America? Only time will tell. But we will be here for every corner of every lap, including the qualifying as well, for that race. And until then, my name is Vinayak Sky. You've been watching the International Sim Drivers Association, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. And finally, we'll close out on our word from our sponsor, Sim Racing Pro. Thank you very much as always, and check out their link in the description below.